I could see myself watching it again, but not for a while yet. All right, but let's talk about a movie I won't be watching again. Hey everybody, today's video once again brings us down here into the library because we've got April reviews. Yep, I'm running late with the reviews yet again. I'm sure by now you guys are used to that, but we got, again, April reviews. So this is a look at everything I watched during the month of April and my very brief thoughts on everything I did check out. With that, I do want to say April was the month I began my library purge, and again, for those of you who do not know, I am going through my entire library and getting rid of essentially doubles, movies I basically owned because it had different artwork variations or because, you know, it was on Laserdisc. So now I just have a copy of a movie on, let's say I have a copy of a movie on Blu-ray. I keep the Blu-ray and I'm getting rid of the VHS, Laserdisc, CED, Beta, DVD copies I also had because, again, because of artwork or because of the format or something like that. So getting rid of doubles. And because of that, I didn't watch a ton of stuff and a lot of documentaries I also checked out. So my pile isn't huge. Next month is going to be the same as well. Not a very big pile of movies, but it's just because, again, I've been working on the purge. It's been keeping me very busy. And with that, running cinema sickness, you know, filming, editing, tons of orders coming through. So we're doing all that, plus just my normal family and normal life. It's been very busy over the last, like, 2 months. And as such, again, my watch pile isn't crazy big right now. But anyway, I did watch some stuff, so let's get down to it, starting with a couple documentaries, because what better to watch while you're working on your collection than a documentary, because you don't actually have to sit down and really deeply pay attention to it. If I pop a movie in, I'm going to want to be sitting here watching every second of that movie. A documentary I can both watch/listen to. I don't have to have my eye on the screen all the time. As long as I know what's going on, I'm being taught a history lesson. I don't have to be watching the screen at all times to get that lesson. So that's why I do prefer to watch some documentaries while I am working down here. So first thing I watched was something I had to check out, Quest for the Phoenicians, and really wanted to watch this because, as you guys know, I am a big fan of Walt Disney World, especially Epcot, and one of the greatest lines, of course, from Epcot on Spaceship Earth is, remember how easy it was to learn your ABCs? Thank the Phoenicians. They invented it. And I'm always quoting that, and you guys are always quoting it to me as well. So I really wanted to check this out, and it was okay. And the reason why it was just kind of okay was because it's essentially just them trying to find kind of like bloodlines of this lost civilization, trying to trace like the ancestors and ancestry of them, and seeing who from the area might still have Phoenician DNA. And there's one dude who's like building an old Phoenician boat, and it's just okay. It's not really all that great. How they spent the whole documentary discussing how they essentially invented the alphabet. Oh, I would have been on board. But not so much. Just kind of, I mean, it is called the Quest for the Phoenicians, so they are actually looking for the Phoenicians. That's what they're doing. They're trying to find out where these people are today, it was just all right. I didn't hate it. It was okay. It's a Nat Geo documentary. It was done well. It wasn't enjoyable, but I don't see myself ever watching this one again. It wasn't really all that fascinating. But what was fascinating was some History Channel with Nazi POWs in America. This I did not know. I'm sure many of you probably are like, well, yeah, duh, but I honestly didn't know this. During World War II, obviously, we captured Nazi soldiers. We had Nazi POWs, and I just always kind of assumed we kept them over in POW camps, over in Europe somewhere. I mean, that's where we were fighting the war, mostly. That's probably where they were, right? Nope, we had POW camps, Nazi POW camps here in America, and oddly enough, just set up in, like, little rural towns. Not even like, I'm not talking like set up and where there's big army bases and where you kind of expect them. No, just like they would find these spaces in these small little rinky-dink towns. bam, Nazi POW camp set up. And we very much follow the Geneva Convention, which kind of dictates how we treat POWs, or how countries are supposed to treat POWs. And from what I can gather from this documentary, it was kind of like summer camp for the Nazis. They were getting, really good meals and great housing and exercise and all these things they could do. They could put on shows, and they were treated very, very well, whereas American POW soldiers over in Germany, we were essentially being worked to death and being treated incredibly horribly. They were not following the Geneva they were not following anything except for just what would help them out the best. It was crazy to learn about how, again, just over here in like little rural towns, the trains would show up and then unload a bunch of Nazis into a POW camp, and how well they were treated while they were there. Very interesting documentary. This one I would definitely recommend if you're into World War II. It's just an interesting part of World War II. I love this kind of stuff. You watch World War II documentaries, and it's like, battle after battle after battle after battle after battle, or just documentaries over the whole war. You hear stuff over and over again. I like these, like, hey, did you know this too? We also had POW camps here in America. Just a weird part of World War II you don't usually hear about, and I like it. Great documentary. Definitely recommend that. And then, because I was on a Nazi kick, we have The Hunt for Nazi Scientists. This is Secrets of the Dead. This was also really interesting. This was a documentary all about them hunting down Nazi scientists who were creating, some crazy weapons for the Nazis, and very interesting. I was trying to hunt these, like the Americans trying to hunt down these scientists to stop them from what they were doing, creating these horrible weapons of destruction, and really interesting to learn about how the Nazis were trying to hide them, building like these elaborate like cave systems, and hiding them in there, and all this stuff, and of course just horrible conditions, of course, for essentially Jewish labor that was being worked to build these weapons. It's just not nice stuff. So horrible stuff going on, but interesting documentary on us trying to find them and put a stop to it. Then we got some more history. This is In Search of History, The Night Tulsa Burned. This was, again, really interesting. Apparently, Tulsa, Oklahoma, back in, I think it was like the 1920s, if I'm not mistaken. Well, I guess 1910s into 1920s, essentially had kind of like a white town and a black town. And from what I gathered from this documentary, the black town was, I think they called it like Black Manhattan or something like that. Basically, all the African Americans living here were living in like a more or less sort of little utopia at the time anyway. What would be considered a utopia for them at the time. They were kind of left alone. It was basically a town just of African American people, and they ran their own, they ran everything. They ran all their own stuff they needed to run for the city. Until apparently a black man was wrongfully accused of groping a white woman, which supposedly didn't actually happen, and things escalated quite poorly, and there were essentially race riots, and the black part of Tulsa was burnt to the ground, and the white part was like, we're just going to take over now. So, essentially this sort of, African-American haven at the time. Again, I'm sure it wasn't, perfect, obviously, with how horrible racism was back then. Not that it's much better these days. But with how horrible racism was back then, I'm sure it wasn't, it wasn't perfect, obviously, but at the time, it was a great place, apparently, if you were an African-American to be living, and just how, like I said, essentially overnight, just wiped off the face of the planet. The town was gone, and then, like I said, basically the white part was like, we're just gonna move in now too, and make this all lovely and white. So great stuff. Ugh. Anyway, but interesting documentary on how how horrible people are, and just why I hate this world. Anyway, so then I watched The Mule. This was a good, it was an interesting story. I like the idea of this old man, basically getting a job as a drug runner, and of course how he's kind of stuck in his ways, and he kind of doesn't care about, these big time drug dealers and whatnots, and even the not so big time drug dealers, but still the ones kind of behind the scenes running the stuff. How they operate. He just kind of does stuff the way he wants to do it. And for a while, he's kind of left alone because he's doing a good job. And you see, it's smart. These people are realizing, all right, it's probably best just to leave this guy alone, let him do his thing. He's delivering the drugs every single time. He's not messing up. He's doing a great job, and he's not really bringing any heat on him or any eyes on him because he's just going about his business, and nobody's really thinking, oh, this old dude's doing something weird, because he's just doing things at his own leisurely pace, the way he wants to do it, and it makes complete sense. That's what you'd want to do. You'd want to leave this guy alone, let him do his thing, but as new people start taking over, and they're like, no, we don't want that. We want him to do his job the way everybody else does their job, and of course, from there, it doesn't go so well. So interesting story. I did like the story. It just wasn't told amazingly well. It seemed like it went a little too fast, and there were parts of the story that were just kind of like left out. Like, I just kind of felt like, bam, he became a drug dealer. Like, it just seemed to happen so fast, and just, I don't know. I maybe would have liked to have seen, a few more scenes thrown in here and there to maybe draw out parts of the movie a little bit more that maybe needed to be drawn out, that weren't just so like bam, bam, bam. Like, I hate when they do that in a movie, like, this happened, and 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 this happened. It's like, whoa, calm down. Can we get some story in between those things? Like, why did this happen? Let's see some lead up to why this happened. I feel like they could have done that a little bit more. Also, I gotta say, I love Clint Eastwood, but I think it's time for him to hang up his hat. He wasn't the best in this movie. I mean, I love him. I've seen numerous Clint Eastwood movies where he's absolutely fantastic. Even movies, from only X amount of years ago where he was, getting up there in age, but he was still great at doing what he was doing. This one, you could see his age. I was watching and going like, yeah. Like, it just seemed like he wasn't quite as there as he usually is with his acting, in my opinion anyway. It's not that he was bad. I still enjoyed the movie. I still thought he was good in the movie, but I couldn't help but feel that he was showing his age finally. It got to the point where he didn't just seem like an old man making a movie. He seemed like an old man who's maybe losing his some of his acting skills, if just due to his old age, in my opinion anyway. So again, maybe time for him to hang up his hat, which is a shame because I love Clint Eastwood, but I mean, he is pretty old, so it is what it is. But still, for his age, he did do a good job. I'm not bashing him. I am commending him. I did like him in this movie. He did a good job. It's just that it was at some portions of the movie, I was really fixated on his acting and how it just didn't seem as Clint Eastwoody as I'm used to. So anyway, The Mule, it was good. I'd recommend checking it out. I wouldn't say it was my favorite. I'm not saying this is a must see, but if you were intrigued, if you were interested in checking it out, it is worth a watch. I could see myself watching it again, but not for a while yet. All right, but let's talk about a movie I won't be watching again. Punk's Dead. SLC Punk 2. I love SLC Punk. It is a great movie. Maybe I shouldn't say great movie, but it is a really enjoyable movie, especially from that time period. Because when SLC Punk came out, there was a huge, big, still punk scene, and it was such a great movie to watch at the time. It wasn't like the punk scene nowadays, which is just like every other scene where it's just kind of what's trendy at the moment, which is kind of why I feel that maybe at this point in time, I would say punk's kind of dead. Back when I was in the punk scene, you liked all this stuff for the most part. You liked everything from like the 70s punk, the 80s punk, into the 90s punk. I mean, whatever was popular at the time, all the new stuff coming out, you loved it, but you were still listening to the Ramones, and you were still listening to Black Flag, and you were still listening to Bad Religion and the Sex Pistols and all, just all these great punk and ska and hardcore bands from 70s, 80s into the 90s. You were listening to them all. You liked a huge wide range of that genre of music, that style of music. I feel nowadays it's kind of like I talk to some I see some punk kids nowadays, and they're like, oh, I like this, all these new popular bands that are out right now, and in like a week they've forgotten about them, moved on to the next ones. And when I'm like, oh, do you listen to, then I like the showcase showdowns, or or the blank 77, or the specials, or I name all these like other bands, and I'm like, who's that? And I'm like, ugh. So anyway, sorry, that was a tangent. Punk's dead. SLC Punk 2. So again, I love the first movie, so I really wanted to see the second one. Oh boy, this movie, it was very low budget, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm gonna say it's not that a movie can't be low budget and still be good. It can. This one just really felt low budget. All the sets were like super cheap, and there were like 3 of them, and all the acting was just kind of like, it just, the story didn't really go anywhere. It's all about Bob's son. Apparently Bob had gotten his girlfriend knocked up. If you watch the first movie, you know what I'm talking about. Apparently that happened. Apparently he got her knocked up. We didn't know that, but it happened. And they had a kid, and his kid, of course, is all like this weird straight edge kid and whatnot, but he's all kind of like messed up because his dad, was this old punk guy who died, and it was bad. That's all I can say. I would not recommend this movie. I didn't really like anything about it. This movie was not enjoyable. Again, low budget, which I'm not trying to bash low budget movies. I've seen many low budget movies that I absolutely love. It's just, if you're going to make a low budget movie, try not to make it feel low budget. Try to, when I watch a low budget movie, what you should try to do is not make me go, ooh, this is low budget, huh? Make me kind of feel like I'm watching a big budget movie, but you're doing it on a low budget, on a low budget. I don't know. I did not like that movie. I would not recommend it. It's like I said, it was very, 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 very mediocre. In my opinion, a completely unnecessary sequel to an otherwise pretty good movie. I like SLC Punk, but Punk's dead. SLC Punk 2. Like why? Like if you're gonna you can do a sequel to SLC Punk, carry on more of the characters, make it a really fun movie. But this just seemed like a really unnecessary sequel that it didn't, I know I'm just rambling on this. It didn't go anywhere. It didn't do anything. It really didn't bring anything new to the story. It just kind of felt like they were like, hey, let's make a sequel because, I don't know, why not? That's not a reason to make a sequel. Like, I don't know. Jeremy. Again, another kind of mediocre movie, but what I like about this movie is it's about these 2 kids who fall in love with each other. So it's not really all that exciting of a story, but it is extremely realistic. Who wrote this one? I have no idea. Why did it not say? Produced, starring, written and directed by Arthur Baron. So, Arthur Baron wrote and directed a movie that really does feel like you're actually watching a love story. It really reminded me of being a young kid and falling in love with a lady, and the relationship. And it just really, truly felt like you're watching a real couple falling in love. And I give it credit for that. It felt very realistic. It didn't feel like a Hollywood love story. It felt like a true everyday love story, and that's a really good, like an amazing thing to do in a movie, because usually when you watch love stories in movies, it's Hollywood. It feels very Hollywood. It's like, oh boy, that's what's happening now. This one really did feel like, it had some ups and downs, some roller coasters, some interesting moments, really showed their feelings for each other, and kind of like, getting scared at times. And then at the end, spoiler, our female love interest here has to move away, and again, spoilers. You've been warned. I'm thinking at the end of the movie, oh, they're gonna like run away together or something like that. No, she leaves. She has to leave. Her family's leaving town, and she has to go. Again, very realistic. Had they ran away together and these kids are now, living on the street somewhere, or, we don't know what happened to them or something like that. We're left with an open-ended movie where it's like they run off and we just assume maybe they're happy together, living together or something like that. No, she goes away and they're both completely heartbroken over it. And I'm like, wow, okay. So I can't really say I loved this movie. It was just, again, it was very mediocre, but I was just blown away by how realistic it felt. It was almost like I was watching a documentary more than a movie. So, what I recommended, I'm just going to say again, if you want to see it, if it's a movie you think you might be interested in, it's worth checking out. I don't see myself ever watching it again, but for the experience of watching something very, very realistic, I'm glad I watched it. Pop this one in. Disneyland Resort, your guide to the happiest celebration on Earth. This was ridiculous. It's not a guide. This is like a 5-minute commercial. And I'm not, you know what? I shouldn't even say 5 minutes. I don't think this was 5 minutes. I don't see a time on here. This was probably about 2 minutes. This is literally like a little 2-minute commercial. And why this was ever put out on DVD, I don't know. I have many vacation guides. Disney and Disneyland and Disney the cruise line and all these different Disney vacation guides I have in my collection, and they're great to watch. You know, they're not super long, but they're, you know, a decent length. They show you all the stuff going on at the time. They go from park to park to park to park, all the different events, all different rides, all the things you can do. They're not super in depth, but they do show you what's going on and kind of say, hey, here's why you want to come to this park. Here's why you want to check this stuff out. And they're really fun to watch. I always say that the vacation guides are like time capsules to what was going on in the parks at that time, which is why I love collecting them. This was, like I said, like a 2.5 minute, maybe 3 minutes tops commercial. That was it. That's all this is. Why even bother putting this on DVD? And it doesn't really go into depth on anything. It just kind of goes like, here's Disneyland. Come on out and see it. Some quick shots of stuff. Thanks, guys. Bye. Like, seriously, when the little commercial got over, I honestly thought, like as it's wrapping up, I'm like, oh, okay, oh, I get it. That's the intro to the DVD. It's going to be that little kind of, you know, little commercial, and then you're going to be able to play the full program or choose, you know, the menu's going to come up and you can choose attractions or choose things you want to see. Nope. So I love having this because I'm a big Disney Parks fan, but that one I won't be popping in again. Bumblebee. This I enjoyed. This was a lot of fun. A lot of people say, you know, their favorite of the Transformers movies, and I can see that. But in my opinion, I found this movie kind of interesting. I know not everybody agrees with this opinion. Basically, I found Bumblebee to be the Marvel Cinematic Universe Transformers movie. The flow of this movie, in my opinion, flowed very much like an MCU movie. It just felt like a superhero movie, but with Bumblebee. I'm not saying that it's ripping anything off. I'm just saying the style and the flow. I'm not trying to say this is Iron Man, but just with Bumblebee in its place. No. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying because a lot of people will actually compare this to E.T. and I can definitely see that comparison. It does kind of I get that. In fact, the more I think about it, it does have a very E.T. Plot line. But it's just the flow of the movie that I thought kind of flowed like a superhero movie. Just all the scenes. All like the essential superhero, you know, MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe scenes seem to be there. The flow of it felt like that. So I think that's why people like this one so much, just because it's kind of like the formula for making successful movies at this point in time. But it was enjoyable. I liked it. Except for John Cena. I like John Cena. Don't get me wrong. I've seen him in many movies. I enjoy him. I think he's funny at times. He's not bad. I mean, he's no Dwayne The Rock Johnson, but he's enjoyable. I tend to like him in movies for the most part. He plays, for some weird reason, the comedic character in this movie, which was so unneeded. Why? I mean, his character, I could say would be necessary. I'm not saying his character in general wasn't necessary for this movie. He's going after Bumblebee. He's trying to find Bumblebee. He's had, you know, he kind of, you know, I don't want to, I'm trying to do this without spoiling too much for you, but he kind of knows, you know, Transformers are there and they basically exist. And then when he finds out, you know, this Bumblebee thing's here and, you know, there's other Transformers and whatnot, and they're looking for Bumblebee. He's like, I know about this, and, you know, he's trying to hunt these people down, you know, hunt these guys down, and he doesn't trust them at all, and I get that, and I like that, I don't mind his character. I like what his character does and where it's going. But why did he have to be like the comedic relief? Why did he have to be like goofy and silly and slapsticky? It just seemed really weird and out of place in this movie. This movie has a more serious tone, with some little comedic things here and there. Sure, like Bumblebee's pretty funny at times. I like when he spits the cassette back out when she puts in some Cure. I liked that. That was pretty funny. Or not Cure. Sorry, Morrissey. I think she puts it. Or was it Morrissey? Who did she put in? Or was it the Smiths? It was the Smiths. Well, which is essentially Morrissey. But anyway, she puts in the Smiths. That's right. And he spits a cassette back out at the girl. I thought that was pretty funny. That was a funny scene. But again, Bumblebee kind of being funny here and there, I get. But John Cena's character, why? Why do they do that? I don't get it. So I didn't really care for his character much. Again, I thought his character made sense in the movie. I wouldn't want to take his character out. I just wouldn't want to make him, so Three Stooges-ish. I don't know. But anyway, Bumblebee was enjoyable. I liked it. I would recommend it. Although I also gotta say, they really make it seem like Earth is like sort of like kind of new to them. But yet they all look like Earth vehicles. Can somebody explain this to me? So maybe I missed something, but in the movie they kind of make it seem like Earth is kind of like somewhere they really haven't been. It's new to them. They're sending Bumblebee there to hide him. Yet all the Transformers they look like Earth vehicles. So if they don't really know about Earth, why are they all Earth vehicles? Again, am I missing something? I don't get that. Kind of made sense in the original Transformers movie where they could kind of transform into whatever electronic thing they could find. So they would come to Earth and go, oh, there's a car, will become a car. Which they do in this movie, but they're already like cars and semi-trucks and airplanes and helicopters and stuff before they even come here. So maybe I missed something. I don't know. Explain that one to me. The Lost City of Z. Again, another enjoyable movie about a man on his quest to find this lost city. Not Lost City of Z. Sorry, I'm American. Lost City of Zed. There you go. I forgot. This is a British film. So you wanna call it the Lost City of Zed. And it was really enjoyable. Again, this man on his quest to find this lost city that he knows is there. He's seen it and he wants to go back and find it. And him building up all this money to go do it, and it's sort of not working out for him, and a really interesting ending, and it's just a great story in general. I really like this one. I'm looking who made this movie. Written by James Gray. Yeah, this was really enjoyable. Again, I would recommend this one. It was awesome. And if you're a big Star Wars fan, I don't want to spoil anything for you. If you're a big Star Wars fan, watch this movie. There's a really enjoyable part of a certain person in this movie talking about the Empire. Obviously talking about the British Empire, but when he says it, you're not thinking about the British Empire. So anyway, I like this movie. Again, very interesting. Movie about a guy on his quest to find this lost city he knows is there, and he wants to track it down, and the lengths he goes to do this, and his kind of obsession, if you will, in finding the city. So I recommend that one. Good watch right there. Then we have the history of WWE, 50 years of sports entertainment. It is what it is. I don't know how much you really want me to go into this one. It's a documentary on the WWE and the 50 years of them, and it's really good. I'd recommend this one if you're into wrestling at all. Again, I'm not really into modern day wrestling, but I do love early 80s and very, 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 very early 90s wrestling. So to me, at least the beginning of this was very interesting to watch, but I also just love documentaries in general, and I do enjoy wrestling to some extent. Even modern day wrestling's okay. So I got a kick out of this. It was a great watch, and again, if you're into wrestling at all, no matter what time period, because they do cover 50 years of wrestling, so if you're into wrestling over any time period, where you like the early stuff, the 80s stuff, the Attitude Era, the modern stuff, whatever you might be into, it kind of covers all of that, and you're gonna get a kick out of this. So I would recommend this one. Again, if you're into wrestling at all, it is definitely a documentary to check out. Next up was a movie I was told I had to absolutely watch. This is something that Rick told me. Lovelace, and this was an interesting movie. All about, of course, Linda Lovelace, one of the biggest names and stars in porn ever. I really knew nothing about her. I knew the name. I knew that she was involved in porn somehow, but I've never seen anything she's ever done. Obviously, Deep Throat being what she's very much known for. But I had never seen that or knew anything about her. So going into this, I was going into it blindly. And it was very interesting to find out that one of the biggest names in the porn industry wasn't really in it for very long, and basically really kind of didn't want to be in it. I mean, she was kind of like, it seems like she was kind of talked into it, but kind of like from what I can gather from the movie anyway, like she was sort of talked into it and kind of like, okay, yeah, this could be fun, and then really quickly went like, no, I don't want to be doing this, and then really couldn't get out of it due to her like boyfriend and husband at the time, who was horrible to her, and just how all this horrible, nasty stuff, rape and just being beat up and treated like absolute garbage. I mean, she went through a lot in the small amount of time in which she was in that industry. And of course, once she got out of the industry, she was such a big name. I mean, people knew who she was, whether you were into this kind of thing or whether you're, some little housewife cooking dinner for your family, you still knew the name. And because of that, she was very much looked down upon. She came out, told her story, and everybody was kind of like, yeah, right, why should we believe you? So, went through a lot. So very interesting story about somebody who I really knew nothing about. I would recommend this one. It was a great biopic. How truthful it was, I don't know. But regardless, it was a fun watch, and I would definitely say Lovelace is one to check out. Then another documentary with National Geographic, Nightmare in Jamestown, and this was very interesting. I already knew about, of course, I've seen documentaries on Jamestown before, and how it didn't really go as planned, wasn't exactly a great settlement, and a lot of bad stuff went down, and this is the documentary talking about all the horrible stuff that unfortunately did happen in Jamestown, how it just really didn't work out for the settlers at all, and just bad stuff after bad stuff after bad stuff. But it's a very interesting documentary. They do some science and show you where things were set up and how things happen, and they talk about why things happened the way they happened, and it was enjoyable. I don't have much to say about this one. It is just what it is. It's a documentary about Jamestown and how it didn't really work out, but it's worth a watch. I'd recommend that one. Then I checked out a movie. I'm just so excited I have this and I could watch this, and I'm so excited I can watch this again. The Invictors. This was amazing. It is a story about this family who basically gets evicted from their house in not a very good way, and how they get revenge on everybody from there on out who decides to live in that house. And it is a great horror movie. I really got a kick out of this one. It's a pretty simple plot, although it is fun to watch people build up some friendships, and with people they maybe shouldn't be building unknowingly shouldn't be building up friendships with, and the terror that goes down with this family, and what the wife ends up doing to the husband at the end. I love this one. I don't want to spoil too much for you guys, but if you're into horror movies, this is one to check out. Very interesting movie. Different feel from a lot of other horror movies I've seen. It's not super horror in the sense that it's, a bunch of scary stuff coming at you all the time, but it's more realistic, where it is his family in a house, and there's people coming after him. So I recommend that one very highly. And then to finish things up here, Season 1 and 2 of Feasting on Asphalt with Alton Brown. Had to watch these because, man, I probably watch these at least once a year. I loved this series. There were three seasons of this. Why Food Network never put out the third season called Feasting on Waves, I don't know, and I hate them to this very day for not doing that, because I am a huge Alton Brown fan. I'm also a big fan of travel shows, and that's what this is. It's Alton Brown traveling with his crew through all these towns and just trying local cuisine. And they're not going to typical fast food joints and stuff. They're stopping at little mom and pop places and trying things that are kind of known for those areas. So they go to one area, and cow brain is kind of something that's known for being eaten in that area. and they try a cow brain sandwich. Things like that. They stop in at like a little tea room and talk about that. And they give you the history. Of course, it's Alan Brown. So Alan Brown is giving you history lessons also throughout. He loves doing that, giving you the history of food. So you're learning about all these different cuisines. He's trying all these different interesting foods. He's giving you history lessons on why these foods are what they are and why, and how they came to be, and how these, again, little tea shops and truck stops and diners and cafes and like Howard Johnson's and stuff like that, how all these different things came to be from back in the day when people were traveling on the road a lot more, at least in the sense that they were traveling for long distances, not flying so much and stopping at places along the way, how these places came to be and why they came to be. And it's such a fantastic series, not very long. Each one of these, let's see, season 1 is literally 4 episodes. That's it. 4 episodes long. And season 2 is 6 episodes. So these aren't very long seasons, obviously. I believe each episode is like an hour long, though. But anyway, it goes by way too quickly. Season 3 was called Feasting on Waves, where they were like in maybe the Caribbean or somewhere like that, and stopping at islands and trying island cuisine. It was very interesting. It was great. Food Network, for the love of God, please put it out on DVD. I'll buy it right now. Seriously, do it. So anyway, fantastic show. Again, I watch this probably at least, like I said, once a year. It is really, really great, and it was perfect for working on The Purge. So there you go, guys. That is it. And that's everything I watched during the month of April. Like I said, not a huge pile there, but again, I was working on The Purge, and next month's going to be a tiny little pile, which I'll probably get to soon. I'll try to get through May's reviews as soon. I'll try to do that within the next couple weeks. We'll see. Do not hold me to that, but I'll try to. So, all right, guys, that is it. I'm going to go and work on The Purge some more. So, all right, as always, thank you guys so much for checking out this video. Be sure to hit that like button down below. Also, if you want to see a brand new video from me every single day, hit that subscribe button and you're going to get one. And also be sure to check down below for links to Patreon, where you can help support the show. The simple donation of $1 a month or more if you like. It really does help out, because a long way, it does go right back into these videos, and it does gain you early access on most of my videos as well, although I do apologize. During The Purge, my videos have been going up kind of late to Patreon because I've just been so busy, but normally early access to most of my videos. Also check down below for links to, also check down below for links to Spreadshirt, where you can grab yourself cool Cinema Sickness gear. Again, proceeds help out the show, and as always, most importantly, check down below for links to the Cinema Sickness Retro Store, where you can pick up all kinds of awesome things like media, movies, books, video games, music, lots of stuff from my library. There's still hundreds of items from my library that still need to get listed to the stores, so if you want to get some cool collectible artwork variations or box sets and limited edition stuff that I'm no longer holding on to, lots of that on its way to the store, lots of it up now and lots of it coming to the store, cool horror VHS and stuff like that. And of course, collectibles, movie memorabilia, toys, retro stuff, awesome things like that at the store. And again, proceeds from the store are the most important for the show. They are to keep the show going. So again, guys, that is it. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Oh my gosh, that I'm so happy I have this and I got to watch this. The Invictors. Oh, Invictors. This was good. Like really good. It is this story of a lovely lady who's growing up. Sorry, that was a stupid joke. It's late. It is a story of